Hey everyone. Now, 2 days after I did episode 135 of the show, I went back to Clint's Comics and I bought 14 books. Then 2 days later, I went over to BC Comics in Bossier City and bought 2 more. Now, because there are 16 of them, I'm not going to give a brief description of these books. I'm just going to let you know what they are. So here we go. First up is Aquaman number 5. Aquaman number 6. Excuse me. Aquaman number 7. Aquaman number 8. Aquaman number 9. Faith number 1. Faith number 2. Faith number 3. Faith number 4. Oops. New Superman number 3. New Superman number 4. Justice League number 6. Justice League number 7. Batman number 5. Death of X number 1. And finally, Cyborg number 2. Now again, that's 16 I bought, which brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 7,527. Well, I hope you enjoy this week's episode right now. Welcome to this week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host, Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. I'm coming to you from Clint's Comics right here in Monroe, Louisiana. Now, in addition to this month of October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And in observance, I made this Domestic Violence in Comic Hero Tea. Now, you're probably wondering, Vic, why is half of it white and half of it black? Well, the white represent the survivors, and the black represents the victims, or those who are no longer with us. And also I included a purple ribbon, because purple is the color for domestic violence. Now, 1 in 4 women are usually on the receiving end of domestic violence. Shouldn't be. Should be 0. This has been going on way too long, folks. When are we going to learn, or what's it going to take to get men to realize that you don't lay your hand on a woman for any reason? None. I mean, I've been on this earth for dang near 35 years, and in every relationship that I've been into, I have never laid a hand on a woman. And to me, men who lay their hands on women aren't men. They are cowardly little boys. Case closed. But then there are some times where, but domestic violence, to an extent, can cut ways. I'm going to give you an example. The U.S. women's soccer team's goalie, Hope Solo, has been on both the receiving end and the giving end of domestic violence. Now you're probably wondering, Vic, how is that possible? Well, here's how. Her husband, days before they got married, ended up beating the living daylights out of her. And then, probably about not even a year after they got married, for some reason, she wanted to beat up her sister and her nephew. I don't care who you are, what background you come from. Blood is thicker than water. And then on top of that, you shouldn't even be beating up on children anyway.
I'm not sure I got the list, but more or less.
And you know, one thing I've learned is that domestic violence is usually common with athletes. And it's professional athletes. And you know, really, it shouldn't be common with anyone. But with athletes, I don't know, I guess they develop this demeanor or this swagger about them that thinks that since they're making all this money and they're getting and on all this, they think that they could do whatever the heck they want. No, it doesn't. Even in the professional ranks, being an athlete is a privilege and not a right. It is a privilege and not a right. I had to say that again. But mostly, it's usually men who are on the giving end and women on the receiving end, and it shouldn't have to happen. Now, I know there's probably some folks that are watching thinking, Vic, who are you to talk about domestic violence? Why are you even talking about it? Well, I'll just ask this. Why not? And also my cousin was also the victim. Well, she wasn't a victim of domestic violence, rather, but one of her friends was. And she had had enough of it. And she tried to do something about it, and unfortunately, it cost her her life. There's no excuse for it. There's been no excuse for it then, there's been no excuse for it now, and there'll never be any excuse for it. The way I see it, any man who lays his hand on a woman for any reason should go to prison and never see the light of day. All right. But I'm raising awareness for that. I personally know people who are both victims and survivors of domestic violence, and my thoughts and prayers are with y'all, because a lot of times when a person goes through this, it takes a long time to heal. And then there are some folks who can't heal from it. And my hearts really go out to them. All right. I just had to say all that. Just had to go ahead and get that off my chest, because ever since I've been wanting to do that, that has been something that I just felt like I had to say here on the show. All right, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. All right, last week's episode, I asked, what is the Avengers rally cry? Well, the correct answer is Avengers, assemble! And 8 people have answered correctly, and because they answered correctly, their names have been entered in a drawing for a free Comic Hero tee, which is about to take place right now. So the winner of the free Comic Hero tee for this week's episode is Jake Young from Springfield, Missouri. So congratulations, Jake. You get yourself a free Comic Hero tee. All right. Here's the question for next week's episode. True or false? Hank Pym, the first Ant-Man, is responsible for the creation of Ultron. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee in next week's episode. Now, Brian Ferguson from Athens, Louisiana, has requested a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, and this one is quite cosmic and vampiric. Representing DC, we have the Hal Jordan Green Lantern. And representing Marvel, we have Carnage. These two are gonna duke it out in a segment I like to call
The Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown.
Welcome to the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Today, it's the Hal Jordan Green Lantern versus Carnage. Hal Jordan, as does any other Green Lantern, possesses a power ring that grants numerous powers, including flight, invulnerability, omnilingualism, and the generation of heart-like constructs. Carnage is an alien vampiric symbiote whose host body is convicted felon Cletus Cassidy. Who will win? Carnage would waste no time attempting to strike first. Jordan would create shield constructs to protect him, but Carnage tears through them like paper. Carnage would then grab Jordan by the tentacles. He would then insert a tentacle into his brain and begin to suck Jordan of his willpower. As his willpower begins to fade, Jordan suddenly remembers the adversity he had to overcome in order to overcome his fears. He then creates a construct of a life-size mallet, clobbers Carnage with it, and breaks free from his grasp. After hitting Carnage with the mallet, Jordan notices that Carnage is vulnerable to vibrations. He then creates a construct of a church bell and begins to bang on it until Cassidy and the symbiote are separated. He then realizes that the two work together as one, so he creates a construct of handcuffs around Cassidy's wrist, leaving him for the proper authorities, and brings the symbiote back with him to Mogo. The Hal Jordan Green Lantern wins, and that concludes this fight on the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Alright, well I hope you enjoyed the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, and if you have a request for fights for a future episode, contact info is down there. Alright, let's get to the comics I bought this week.
Comic books I bought this week.
First up is Detective Comics number 943. This is part one of a new story arc called The Victim Syndicate. Now, I'm still behind on everything Batman, and the reason for it is this. There was one hole that I had in an issue of the sister book, Batman, and that was number 5, but fortunately, this weekend, I was able to find it over at BC Comics, as I just alluded to at the very beginning of this episode. So I'm going to try to get caught up, and as soon as I get done reading everything Batman, I'll let you know what happens in a future episode. Next up is Wonder Woman number 9. This is part 5 of the Laws. Now I'm this too I'm very very behind on because, well, folks, here's the thing. I have a very demanding job, and then on top of that, I read a lot of books. Not a very good combination, but from the books that I have, the issues of Wonder Woman I have been reading, it has been great. We find out more about what's going on with Wonder Woman currently, and the things that have been going on, and then we find out her true past in year 1. All right, next up is Titans number 4. Now, I'm actually caught up with this book, and let me tell you what happens. At the end of number 2, Tempest almost dies at the hands of some techno magic by Abracadabra. He, instead of die, see, I still don't understand how he didn't die, but find out some other things. We find out that this is the Abracadabra from the Flashpoint, well, pre-Flashpoint DC universe, and it's also been revealed that he is responsible, or partially responsible, for Wally West being lost in space and being lost in time until DC Rebirth. And just as he's about to warm up to the New 52 version of Linda Park and give an impromptu interview, Abracadabra decides, okay, I'm going to kidnap Linda Park. Let's see how he likes that. And that's how number 3 ended, and number 4 is continuation of that. All right, next up is Teen Titans number 1. Now, this book is this is the first issue of this book. However, it picks up where Teen Titans Rebirth left off. Now, we see Beast Boy, Raven, Starfire, and even the New 52 version of Kid Flash. They're all minding their business. They're living their lives, and all of a sudden, somebody out of nowhere ends up beating them up and kidnapping them. And we think it's just some bad guy or something. But at the very end of it, we find out it was the Damian Wayne Robin. I guess this is his way of wanting to get a new Teen Titans team back together. Although I don't know what I think about this. Fred, what do you think? My thoughts exactly. And I'm quite sure his dear old dad, Bruce Wayne, really wouldn't approve of it either. Oh, and after reading this, they keep talking about Red Robin dying. So this would suggest this happened after the events of Rise of the Batman. All right, next up is The Flash number 9. Now, in the last issue, The Flash finally defeats Godspeed. And in this issue, the Wally West from the pre-Flashpoint DC universe meets his cousin, the new Kid Flash from the New 52 universe. And then finally, Action Comics number 966. This is part 2 of Lois Lane back at the planet. And we see Lois returning. Well, actually, this is the pre-Flashpoint Lois Lane, because the Lois Lane from the New 52 universe died in the pages of Superwoman number 1. And she's pretty much ruling her return to the Daily Planet with an iron fist. And everyone asks where she's been and all that. But there's only one person that this doesn't really sit well with. And that's the guy that owns the Daily Planet, Lex Luthor. Besides, Lex Luthor actually saw when the New 52 version of Lois Lane died at the end of Superwoman number 1. So you know he's going to be asking questions. All right, that's 8 I bought, which brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 7,532. Oh, by the way, that count was wrong, and I apologize for that. Well, what I said was wrong, but the count that y'all just saw, that's true. I apologize for that. I lost track of count after I. Now here's the thing, folks. Whenever I buy books, I usually put them on checklist, and I have a spreadsheet of my entire collection, which I did already. However, I forgot how many I had. So I did a lot of stuff between this weekend and today. So charge it to my head, not to my heart. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Now, here's the question again for next week's episode. True or false? Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man, is responsible for the creation of Ultron. Everyone who answers correctly will be entering the drawing for a free tee in next week's episode of the show. But if you don't mind buying one from me, for adults they're $10 and for children they're $5. Now, next week's episode is going to be a very special episode. Well, very special to me. And the reason for that is because next Wednesday when I do it, it's going to be my birthday. And I'm not going to tell you how old I'm going to be. 35! But I just hope that, the Lord will allow me to wake up to see next Wednesday, bring y'all a very awesome episode. I'll have a lot of stuff planned that only a few people know about. Claire, don't you dare say a word. And speaking of birthdays, happy birthday to Dustin Scandanzi. He graduated from Homer a few years after I did. Now y'all probably wondering, Vic, why are you wearing this Homer High School hat? Well, the reason I'm wearing this is because this week is Homer High School's homecoming. I'm a proud graduate in the year 2000. Or should I say the mighty, mighty, mighty class of 2000. And I'm not going to be able to attend a homecoming this week because of my work schedule, but all I got to say is, go Pels go. And my thoughts and prayers go out to everyone who's been on the receiving end of domestic violence that's still with us. And hopefully one day we'll get this one out of 4 women to 0 out of 4 women. And to all you guys that think it's okay for you to beat up on women, you're wrong. It's not for any reason. I mean, they can give you like some kind of, even if they give you some kind of disease, don't lay your hands on them. If they cheat on you, don't lay your hands on them. If they say something mean about your family, don't lay your hands on them. Plain and simple. Because that does not make you a man. Again, that makes you a cowardly little boy, and you deserve to be in prison and locked up for the rest of your lives. All right, I'm Victor Nunley. I'm the Comic Hero. I'll see you next week for episode 137, the birthday episode of the show, right back here at Clint's Comics. So till then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero, and go, pals, go! Woo! All right, well, I hope you enjoy the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, and if you have a request for future episodes, contact info is down there. All right. Dang! All right, well, I hope you enjoyed the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, and if you have a off a dunk!
Yeah, it is getting dark. I noticed the other night I was here probably for the contest and nowhere.
First up is Detective Comics number 943. Now, this is the part of a new